Hello, my name is Nathan, and this is the RealityWorks RealCare Baby battery replacement instructional video. Before we begin, there's 5 things you're going to need for replacing the batteries in your RealCare Baby. You're going to need your RealCare Baby itself, the instructor key for getting into the back of the baby, a pair of wire cutters, the battery replacement kit that you would have received, and also the battery replacement essentials kit that you also should have received in the mail. Alright. In the battery replacement kit itself, you are going to find 2 battery packs, 4 zip ties, and 2 new screws. In your battery essentials kit, there are going to be 3 items. First, a screwdriver for removing the electronics from the back of your baby. Second, an instruction guide that'll show you step by step how to replace the baby's batteries. And third, a baby battery maintenance sheet. You'll want to read through this carefully. It'll help you get the most life out of your baby and its batteries. Alright, let's begin. First, you're going to need to take your electronics out of the back of your baby. You do this using the instructor key, which you insert in the keyhole and turn about 90 degrees counterclockwise. After working with the back panel a little bit, it should pop right off. Next, use your screwdriver, and you'll see that there are 2 screws holding the electronics into the back of the baby, one above and one below the lights. Use your screwdriver to remove these 2 screws, and then the electronics should slide right up and out of the back without any issue at all. Now you remove the batteries from the electronic module. You do this by cutting in a few areas. Using your wire cutters, you'll want to cut the wires that run from the batteries into the electronic board as close to the battery as possible on both sides. Then you'll want to cut the zip ties holding those batteries onto the board itself on both sides once again. Now you'll have the electronics with the wires running out of the connectors in the board. You use the wires for a little bit of leverage and wiggle it back and forth to pull those connectors loose. Now we connect the batteries to the electronic board. Orient the board so that the electronics are facing you and that the battery connection terminals are facing up. Next, plug the batteries into the electronic terminals. Notice that they are keyed, so they will only fit in one way. When you're connecting them, you'll want to make sure you slide them in as straight as possible and be sure to give them a good push so that they are snug and are properly terminated. You can make sure the termination is proper by looking to the side of the electronic connectors. There's going to be a little slot where you can see that the pin is being held down by the connectors itself. Verify this visually and then move on to the next step. Next, you're going to want to zip tie these batteries to this board. With the orientation we mentioned before, you're going to want the part of the battery that has the cable running from it to the board on the left-hand side at all times. So first, starting with the terminal that is furthest away from you, take the battery that is connected to that, bring it up top, and you'll want to slide a zip tie through either of those 2 slots. They will come out the bottom. Bring them around the battery and zip them down. When doing this one, be sure you do not catch the wires connected to this battery underneath the zip tie. You'll want them outside of that. Zip tie them down tight. And then repeat on the other side. With this one, you're going to want to make note of the little channel in the board. Bring the wire around through that. Once again, making sure the part of the battery that the wires connect to are on the left-hand side of the board, assuming the electronics are facing you. bring the zip ties down through the upper slots again. Make sure not to catch the wires. And zip tie them down tight. After that, you will want to use your wire cutters. And when you're cutting these ends off of the wires, make sure to give it a little bit of an extra pull and twist, so that way that tightens the cables just a little bit more, so the wires won't be going anywhere. And then on this side, make sure these wires are out of the way so they don't cause a problem while you're plugging the board back in. You just tuck them off to the side a little bit, underneath the zip tie, and there you have it. All that's left is to reassemble the baby. You'll take the electronics and you'll want to slide them straight into the back of the baby. You'll see that there's a plug there and a small port in the back of the baby where that should slide into. One thing to note, especially in older models of baby, on the circuit board, there's sometimes a little piece there. Not all babies have this, and most don't anymore, but for the few that do, you'll want to make note of this, so as you slide the electronics into the baby, you don't want to catch it on the side and possibly shear that piece off or damage the electronics in any ways. The electronics should slide down easily if you have it lined up properly, and then the last little bit should only take a little push to fit snugly into place. Now, take your 2 screws out of the bag that came with your battery replacement kit and the screwdriver, and you'll just want to screw the screws back down to hold the electronics in place. After that, you just put the back on, using the instructor key to work with the latch, and do a quarter turn clockwise to anchor it into place. And now you've just finished replacing the batteries on your RealCare Baby. Make sure you charge the baby overnight before first use to ensure your batteries function properly, and follow the battery maintenance instructions to ensure a long life to those batteries and your babies.